Alright guys, just finished training chest. Had an awesome chest session with my boy Dave Malabag. Last rep, follow him if you're not already following him, he's an awesome guy. Today I want to talk about, is bodybuilding a sport? So this past weekend we had the Libra Muscle Classic here in Vancouver, and it was a great event, awesome show. It was a small show, but the level of talent was actually pretty awesome. Lots of sick looking competitors, and yeah, I was kind of surprised. There was only 240 people. It's about half as many as the show I did back in November, but it was actually a really awesome show. Anyways, anytime there's a show like that locally, you're gonna get, you know, friends and family asking, like, what's this all about? You know, is this some kind of a beauty contest? You know, like, these people, they're vain. All they care about is like hooking up or whatever. And to be perfectly honest, going into it, before I was ever exposed to the whole fitness industry, like, I kind of thought similar. I kind of thought along the same lines. When I did my first show, I was like, I was scared to invite friends and family because I really didn't know what was going to go on. I didn't know if there was going to be like a halftime show with like a wet bikini contest or something. I didn't know, right? Like, I didn't know what bikini competitors were all about, and like, that's what you would see on TV. So like, that's kind of like what a bikini contest was. So going in, I can see why people have that attitude. Rich Piana did a video a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago actually, and you know, he came out and he said, is bodybuilding a sport? And he said his conclusion was no, it is not, because it's a judge sport. And that was kind of his rationale. He's like, you know, it's not a performance, it's not athletic, you know, you guys just stand up there, and like, he kind of slammed the sport a bit. I'm not sure like if that was just because of how he did in the sport. He was never able to kind of reach that level he wanted to, but I would say to that, like, you look at any like Olympic level sports, whether it be diving or gymnastics, it's very common for judging, like a judging panel, to be involved in a judged sport. So I don't really think that's a strong argument against it. Anyways, so if you ask me if bodybuilding was a sport, I would say definitely 100% yes. The level of athleticism involved in doing these sports is like very high. When you get out on stage, like, you don't have mirrors to check your body. Like, you have to stand there and you have to look perfect. You have to be completely aware of your whole body. You have to know what every part of your body is doing, and you have to be able to show it perfectly. So the amount of practice that goes into that, that's a performance. It looks like you're just standing there like a statue, but it's definitely a performance, and it's not easy. It is extremely difficult. My first show, like, I probably could have done a lot better, but I completely blew it. My posing was whack, and like, I only put a couple days actually. I didn't sign up for that show till about a week out. But I only did a couple days of posing, and it was really bad. So going into my second show, I spent a couple months actually practicing the posing for the bodybuilding show, and it was considerably better. But it's extremely hard. It's very athletic. Guys who get out there for the first time are just amazed at how difficult it really is to hit those poses and to hold them. You're just completely gassed. It is so hard. And you know, I've played hockey casually, and like, I've played other sports, and like, they're very difficult, like the cardiovascular training that goes into them. You have to have that endurance, but when it comes to actually like holding muscle, flexing muscle, it's very different, but it's extremely difficult. And when you get to a show and you look at that top lineup, when you look at that top 5, generally speaking, if you have a good eye, or if you have a trained eye, you can pick who's going to win. So it is not nearly as subjective as you think. The criteria to become a judge and the criteria for a person to stay a judge is pretty strict. You can't be giving your friends first place and expect to get away with that for any amount of time. So you know, it's very fair, it's very considerate, and it's very accurate. So for that reason, it is a sport. I would always say it's a sport. And looking at any other sport, you can easily like deduce it and make it sound stupid. Whether we're talking football, you're carrying a piece of pigskin across a arbitrary line, or you're playing hockey, you're just trying to slug a piece of rubber into a net. You can make it sound really stupid, right? Like, guys standing on stage in underwear, it's really stupid. But when you get to know the sport and when you get involved, you realize how athletic and how amazing it is, and you have a lot of respect for the guys who can do it, because it's so hard and it takes a lot of discipline. And like any other sport, years go into the training. The guys that are up there, you're not just watching one performance. They put weeks, hours, years, months into doing that, and you have to respect that. So it's no different than somebody who's played hockey since he was 12 years old. A lot of these guys who are up there on stage winning, you know, they're in their late 20s and they've been training since they were teenagers. So the hours that have gone into that are incredible. So for that, it's a sport. I'd say it's a sport. It's always going to be a sport, and it's beautiful. And if you've never been to a show, go to a show. If you've never thought of competing in a show, you should definitely do it. It is so much fun. And after I did my first show, I totally fell in love with it, and I enjoy every second of it. It's great. So bodybuilding, it's a sport, and it's an amazing sport. See you guys next time. If you guys have any comments or questions, post below and I'll be sure to answer them.